Good. Recording is back up, and then now I will just be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, nice early energy. I like it. We're taking the TP up to high ground.
Get in there. Ready for battle.
Okay, so let's rewatch. So that's just for example here. This is this last bubble here. Once you are high energy, you want to be purely using bubbles for tanking, right? No longer are you in need of energy, and if you were once you're like 70 plus on energy, you're not gonna get your maximum energy out of it, right? And you already have enough to do a lot of damage with, right? So if you get 40% maximum, right? 40% energy maximum out of a bubble, and if you're above like 70, you're only getting 30, or less energy. And then on top of that, you're already very high energy. So your bubbles therefore want to be for pure tanking when you're actually in danger, or your teammates are in danger and you actually need it, right? Here we bubble and we just think, okay, well, were we in danger? Was there anybody shooting at us? Were we, were we low, etc., right? No, not really in too much danger. Well, there is actually a Mccree sneaking up behind us, but we don't seem to be aware of that, and we're not bubbling specifically for that, right? So here the bubble ends up getting probably largely wasted. Okay, and then Mccree sneaking up behind is an audio awareness thing, right? Making sure we're being aware of our surroundings, right? Listening, watching.
Barrier's on you. Go. Give me your best shot. Enemy turret ahead. Reality. Barrier's on you.
Okay, right there, that was a very rushed bubble. Didn't really seem like we really picked out anybody in particular. We kind of turned the bubble without seeing what the situation was. Though he was low, so it's possible that we were bubbling for that. But yeah, we kind of bubble like the moment we turn here, and then it turns out they didn't really end up needing it. So just be careful about rushing them, because bubbles are really important on Zarya, which we can get into if we need to.
Do better than that.
Oh, let's break it. Damn!
Go.
Experience tranquility. My barrier is destroyed.
Okay.
Get in there.
So, a Torbjorn just walked up like right next to us and we didn't seem to notice. So let's talk about audio awareness real quick. So, audio awareness, in case we didn't go over this last time. Volume, make sure that it's subjective, depends on what your headset volume is set to, but make sure it's loud enough. Music volume, I'd recommend turning it off or down, because then it's not going to clutter your audio. And then make sure that you're checking your settings to see your headset software. Do you have surround sound as an option? Or sorry, do you have it enabled right on your headset? And if it's not an option, then you can go and turn it on in-game. Dolby Atmos for headphones, and then it gives you sound that surrounds you. And then you can have all of those enabled and still not have very good audio awareness if you're not actively listening. So make sure you're actively paying attention and listening and watch. And for abilities and ults and footsteps and gunshots, and because we've been snuck up on twice and we didn't really seem to notice at all. Now, additionally, right now, pretty much during this fight, our number one concern at the moment is getting high energy, because we're not really going to be able to do anything without energy. So energy real quick, let's just talk bubble usage. When you're playing Zarya, bubbles are pretty much the most important part of your kit, right? They're incredibly important. When you use your bubbles, right, it's your tanking value, but then it's also energy, right? And then energy translates into damage. Damage translates into more ultimates and more kills. more ultimates translates into more kills, and then overall more kills translates into more fight wins, and then more game wins, right? So therefore, bubbles really important. And right now we're sitting at 0 energy. Not really using our personal bubble at all here, which if we're trying to get people to look at us and shoot at us, you can possibly be a little bit more aggressive on the edge here, like, actively shoot at people so that they look to shoot back, but then also getting more value out of our projected bubbles would also be important so that we're getting higher energy.
Get in there.
Okay, and then we
Yeah,
might... Yeah, good.
so I guess the question is like, at this point, do you stay on high ground or do you go on low ground for a bit, get your energy up, and then try to like control high ground after? So I guess one of my main questions is like, when do you engage high ground and when do you
Yeah.
disengage?
You engage on high ground, so like the benefits of high ground, right? It gives you survivability, it gives you cover, it makes it so you have a lot of angles to work with. You can get around shields and stuff like that, right? And get around tanks. Now it's all if the whole fight is happening we're out of your range, then you probably want to be off of high ground. Here, I think this is a high ground where like generally we can see stuff that's in the fight, but I don't think we're being like we're utilizing it to the best of our capabilities. I think that if your objective is to get energy, right, and that should be the objective, dropping from high ground will probably be easier for that. And additionally, you're also very, I'd probably say at the moment you're at a little bit of an advantage in the fight as well. Honestly, dropping from high ground wouldn't be too bad of an idea. I don't think it really either or. It's not too bad. I think we'll definitely talk about something else here possibly. In a minute that can help out with like actually securing kills. But yeah, I don't think being up high ground's a bad thing here. Really, you could do it either way.
Get in there.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this now. I'm just like, all right, what if I had gone to, drop down and then got the Baptiste off high ground? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
On the other side.
Enemy. Go. I'm out of here. Barriers on you.
Make sure you know where TP's going before you're just pressing the button, because for all you know, that could be in the middle of their team, and like they have 6 people looking at it, and then that wouldn't be very good for you.
Yeah.
I'm out of here. Barriers on you.
Nice bubble.
I have located the enemy. Ready for battle.
Routing power to forward shield.
Bend to my will. Get in there. Do you even live?
All right, we're definitely gonna talk about it now. So, not sure what the heck we went over last time because it's been a long while. It's been multiple months since our last session, so I have no clue what we discussed. So if anything seems
No worries.
familiar, it'll just be review, right? So target priority. Who should we be looking at? Why should we be looking at them? Generally speaking, you should be looking at the easiest targets to kill, because the easiest targets to kill will actually be the ones that die, right? And generally speaking as well, tanks are not the easiest targets to kill. They are the hardest targets to kill. They have 2 to 3 times the health of other characters. They have shields, they have armor, they have tanking abilities, and they're just overall really tough. Now, therefore, probably don't want to be shooting at them a ton, and we want to prioritize the other characters. And that's not that we never shoot at them. We shoot at them when they're low, when they're out of position, when they're the only characters we can shoot at, right? When we have opportunities to shoot at them. But we don't want to spend, each and every fight doing nothing but shooting at tanks, because that's going to just not be very much value for us. Now, additionally, I guess other points here, right, is that you have 2 options. You have equal opportunity. So, for example, right here, right, we come into the fight, and you have the equal opportunity to either shoot at Mercy or Sigma, right? Mercy and Sigma are right next to each other. That's equal opportunity. There's nothing in the way. But let's say Sigma is in the way, right? And so then Mercy's like off to the side. Well, then you have actively seeking out other characters where you can go and actively try to get around Sigma to get to Mercy. And we can discuss how you can do that more effectively. High ground is one of the ways you can do that, right? Now, additionally, do know that even among DPS and supports, there are easier targets to kill and harder targets to kill. And therefore, usually, I like to, at the start of each round, come up with a list in my head and just think to myself, right, what's the easiest thing, the hardest thing to kill? You just come up with a quick list. You can make tiers. So, for example, let me go over your team real quick. On your team, Zen would be by far the easiest character to kill, right? Then next would probably come Symmetra. And then I would probably do Sombra, Lucio, kind of in that in a tier together because they're very similar. And then I would do Zarya and then Orisa, right? So that'd be just my rough order there. And then we should probably look to stick to that unless we have opportunities or Orisa's just smack dab in our face, right?
Mhm.
Run through what you think your target priority should be for the enemy team.
Definitely Mercy.
Mhm.
Then Bap, probably Torb, Cass, then Diva, and then Sigma's probably the hardest.
Yeah, I might put like Bap, like these guys are probably like very similar when it comes to. I think yeah. So Bap and Mccree, I might put in a tier just because Bap has self healing and he has jump and he has immortality, and then Mccree just has a little bit of extra health and a roll and a lot of damage, right? So I'd say those two around even, and then Torb, and then yeah. So you got the rest, right? So that's your order. Now, if we were to look back at the last two fights, we've been shooting a lot at Sigma, who we just said is the hardest character to kill, and a lot of Diva, right? Who is the second hardest to kill, right? So just a lot less of what we should be shooting at, essentially, right? Does that whole
Yeah.
concept make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Do you even live?
Oh, let's break it. Damn.
And now that's good. We're focusing on the Baptiste. Though do know that you pull away from shooting at Baptiste when he's like really low and probably still killable, right? He wasn't once he got up to the high ground. That's not like he immediately got out of our line. That's like not like he got away, right? We can still hit him from here. He's not even out of our line of sight fully. We just back off to the side and we can still see him perfectly fine. We can toss a right click up there at him. They can get around the corner even if he did have cover, right? So we kind of turn away unnecessarily from that. Not a major deal though.
Hmm.
Escorting the payload.
It's high noon.
Audio awareness, right? That way we can hear that and maybe protect the Lucio.
Mm.
Use your cover. Charging up.
Thanks.
Use your cover. Charging up.
Okay.
I'm unyielding. Bring it.
Okay. So last time, do you recall whatsoever? Because this is usually like a bigger note, but so hopefully maybe you do. But if not, then we can we can go over it. Do you recall how did we say? How do you tell whether or not you've won or lost a fight?
Yeah, based on the number of people you have towards their number of people, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a 3v4.
3v5 currently. That's Baptiste right there, squished in the middle, right?
Okay.
So, yes, you pretty much got it right, right? You watch kill feed. 1 to 2 is an advantage or a disadvantage, whether you're up or down, right? Advantage or disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. Now, do note that it can get a little bit more advanced than that. That's the very basics of it, right? So right now it's a 5v3, but right now they're currently up 2 people, but you might have noticed that 2 is in the middle of that, right? That 2 is in both ends. So how do you know when it's 2 and you're only down 2 people, right? Is that one, are you at a disadvantage? Is it lost? So how you tell that is based off of all the other things that go into whether or not you're winning or losing, right? So there's other advantages and disadvantages, such as who has better positioning, closer spawns, who's has and is using more ultimates, more abilities, which team has more health, right, etc. There's just a bunch of different things like that. Now, in this situation, right, or even just generally speaking, right, if you are down 2 people, but they're all 1 HP, well, maybe that's still winnable, right? In this situation, if you guys are down 2, but then they're all 1 HP, well, then you can go in and clean them all off and win the fight, right? But if you were to come into this fight, right, and you're down 2 people, and you have no additional advantage whatsoever, well, then it's just a flat-up lost fight, right? So, therefore, you want to make sure that you are paying attention to all those other things. So here, we can analyze this a little bit. Well, currently, you're down 2 people, and they're using 2 ultimates, so that's already a big advantage there. Also, on top of that, your Rissa's low HP. That's another, Rissa's going to die soon. And you also have no additional advantage, right? So, on the spectrum, where would you say you are right now?
We're definitely losing. This is
Yeah.
a lost fight.
Yeah,
100%.
lost fight, 100%. Yeah, exactly. Or 95%, right? So that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's always a chance, but when you're working with statistics, you want to go for that really high chance, right?
Yeah, and I mean also we're down 2 supports, and Lucio Zen is pretty low heals, so
Yeah, so in this situation, therefore, probably don't want to be getting as aggressive as we are, and then that would we wanted to be when the fight is lost, you look to get out if you can. If you can't, you let them kill you. Here, if we had started backing up much sooner, we probably could have gotten out, and with a high energy as well. Right, and now that resets our energy, that staggers our team, which isn't going to be very good for us. Right now, we could be this is what you call in between fights. You want to maintain your energy, so we don't if we were to, for example, right now just go step out and bubble ourselves or bubble Orisa, right, that sort of thing, into just the junk spam. Well, now we could have the potential to come into this fight at high energy versus coming into the fight and then trying to get high energy, right? There's a massive difference because then we can use our bubbles purely for tanking during the fight and not have to worry about energy whatsoever, rather than coming into the fight at 0 and then trying to get at the high energy. Maybe, hopefully you can, but maybe you won't. And then you're going to have to not be able to do, right? It's just so much more efficient if you get energy before the fight begins. And here we could be getting it very easily if we're just stepping into those junk shots. And we're kind of sitting back a little bit. Oh, do we do it? No, we're going to the TP. Which that's not a bad play. Okay, audio awareness, so the Junkrat that's right next to our heads, right? So a lot of audio awareness that we're noticing. Additionally, you can, I don't know. Let's see what else. Additionally, is there any other info? You can see the kind of the angles where the shots are coming from. All right, we do hear him, but it's a little bit delayed. Oh, audio and visual awareness. We saw him place the trap, right, and then we kind of walk into it. Okay, noting once again we're very low energy, not gonna be able to really accomplish much. Good target priority, but we're low energy, so we're not really gonna be able to do very much. Not gonna be able to kill her. Additionally, the fight's already been lost, and we did not use our ultimate. We're gonna keep our eye on how long you hold on to ult, but no, then when you don't use ult, it's not gonna do anything, right? And that's especially worse the longer you hold on to it. But if we use it, you might end up winning this fight, right? Which would be very good for you guys. Additionally, with the timing of your ultimate, generally speaking, the beginning of the fight is the start of the fight is the best time to use your ultimate, and then mid fight it's it's okay to use your ultimate. Late fight it's kind of situational when you want to use it, and then in between fights it's very rare where you're gonna want to be ulting. So start using it at the start of fights can be better because ults that are used first generally get more value than ults that are used second. So let's say they have shatter, you have grab, right? They shatter first, they get a bunch of people down, they come in, they kill half your team, okay? Now you grab after half your team is dead, and now you don't have anybody to shoot in the grab, and they have more resources to pump out, right? And then you grab just doesn't do as much, right? And then on top of that, you could also just lose the fight before you even get a chance to ult, right? Being down 3 people is essentially losing the fight, right? It's losing the fight before you even get a chance to ult, which might even force you to hold on to it or just waste your ultimate, right? So, a lot of reasons why I probably want to be ulting faster there.
Okay, so this is another scenario where you want to wait till you get high charge before even taking high ground, rather than just being on high ground.
Not necessarily, because you can be high ground and get charged. So let's like discuss that a little bit. So here, let's just look at our bubbles, right? So we come in here, we'll analyze the bubbles, right? So Brig, great bubble, right? Now we let's see, do we bubble ourselves when we don't bubble ourselves when Junkrat's kind of like right on top of us? That could have been a good bubble. Okay. Additionally, we're trying to get people to look at us. Okay. People currently they're just not looking at us whatsoever. When you are trying to get people to shoot at you, there's a couple things that you can do, right? Because you want them to look at you so that you can bubble, right? That's your objective, and no one's looking at you, not going to do anything with it. Okay, so you have a couple things you can do. Firstly, draw their attention. So here, maybe instead of shooting at Mercy, you can shoot at like the Mccree, right? So that Mccree looks at you. So shoot at Mccree, and then that draws his attention to you. You stand still, make yourself an easy target to hit. Now, of course, don't do this if they have something that can instantly melt you, like if they have like a Hanzo or Widowmaker, something like that, right? But when you're bubbling, your bubble's gonna protect you, so you can stand still. You also want to be standing right up next to the edge so that they can hit you as easy as possible, and they can see you as easy as possible. Whereas notice how we kind of like go in and out, where we kind of like we're doing what you should be doing if you're not trying to land a bubble, where we're kind of going in and out of the high ground, and we're using cover and stuff like that. We want to be just sitting, like, just basically standing here on the edge, waiting for them to shoot at us. Now, if they're not looking at you, then yes, dropping might be an option to go for as well, because they're just not giving you any energy, right? That's another thing to be thinking, but yeah.
Ready for battle.
Also, even just getting energy in between fights as well, right, would be very helpful.
My ultimate is ready. Give me your best shot.
Okay.
You're covered.
EMP activated.
Okay, so let's rewatch that for half a second. So we're bubbling. Okay, we use our personal bubble. Note that we use our personal bubble when we have a shield up. Don't do that because now half their team can't see it, or more than half their team can't see us, can't shoot at us, right? So make sure we're not overlapping those. And it's also wasting tanking value. We also back up during the middle of our bubble. Bubble, finish the bubble, then back up, right? Or back up like right at the very end, but we kind of back up. Look how far back we're back here while the world bubbles is still active, so it's not going to do as much, right? And then we bubble our Orisa, noting once again that when we do bubble, we're kind of overlapping with her halt, which her halt, which isn't it's her fortify, wrong one, right? Which isn't as bad as the shield, but it's still overlapping the tanking abilities, and then we're also doing it a little bit early when maybe Orisa's not Reinhardt's not on top of her yet, and the team's not shooting at her, right? So ends up not doing a ton, right? When you use bubbles, when you're trying to get it for energy, you want to be using it when damage is actively coming your way, right? And in that case, damage isn't coming your way yet because nobody's shooting when you pop it, and additionally Reinhardt's not on top of her yet, right? So maybe doing it slower, right, can help out.
You're covered.
EMP activated.
Reality bends to my will.
Special attack.
Okay, minor bad habit here. Notice how we're beaming into nothing, and then when we right click and then beam into nothing, right? So watch this. Beam into nothing, right click, beam into nothing, beam right click, beam into nothing, beam into nothing. Right, so it's just wasting a lot of our ammo really fast there, right? Kind of unnecessarily.
Halo's moves.
Okay, noting that's now fight number 2 without Graviton Surge. We will continue to note. Now, we did win that fight, right? So it's not as big of a deal, but we're still kind of just keeping the counter of it so that we know how many fights we've gone without using it.
Go. Barrier activated.
Okay. Notice here we use bubble way too early on our Symmetra, right? We kind of bubble. I'm not even sure if we see the bomb before we're bubbling or not, but yeah, it's just a little bit early. Uh-oh. Alright, so that's unfortunate. What do you think caused that death?
Overextension.
Overextension?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. but it's also just one Reinhardt and one Mercy, and you have most of your team with you. Do note as well that they do still have people on high ground, so maybe we could also try helping out people on high ground. But we're killing the D.Va. I think that's honestly pretty fine to be pushed up here to kill the D.Va. That's a good play because you want to stagger her. I'd probably say that there's another thing that cause, and overextension definitely does cause deaths. I'm saying that I'd probably say there's another primary reason why you're dying.
Oh, audio awareness.
Yeah, awareness, audio
Yeah.
and visual, right? Audio would definitely help, but then also just like, or sorry, I guess visual would help. Audio would be the kind of the foundation, right? Because when you think of it like this, audio awareness, you can hear without even needing to see, right? You can hear Reinhardt behind you, chugging up behind, like he's big, he's very clunky, right? And you can hear him be like without even needing to see him, and then sight can also add a crutch to that as well, right? Is help you know where he's at, but here if we're just listening, then we can stay alive through that. Okay, and then because of that, now that's fight number. I mean, I guess we didn't really have a chance to use it there, but then that's, I guess that's the, so I won't count that towards the counter. But if we were alive, we could have used it.
Go.
Yeah.
Ready for battle.
Okay, so rewatch that real quick, right? Bubble on May. Okay, typically not gonna want. Firstly, note that it's only one single target shooting at the May, which is not always a bad thing. But also note that it's a skill shot character. Now compare Mccree versus Junkrat. Junkrat's a projectile character. He shoots a shot, he cannot recall it. He can't just go, oh, there's a bubble, let me stop, because the 5 bullets are already headed your way, right? Mccree can instantly stop. Just he's a hit scan. He can immediately just choose not to shoot at you, and then even if he was continuing to shoot at you, he's also going to be very he's gonna be inaccurate, and you might end up missing a lot of shots. Whereas Junkrat, a lot of his shots are just going in a straight line, anyways, right? That sort of idea. The main thing is the projectile versus the hit scan, right? Is the main thing. So typically you're not gonna wanna bubble against like hit scan characters. So no, not really for Widowmaker, not really for Hanzo. You can situationally if you're, for example, using it tanking, if you're trying to save the person's life. But if you're trying to use an energy bubble against a hit scan, usually not going to work too great for you.
Barriers on you. Go.
Yeah. Okay.
Ready for battle.
Okay, then we kind of bubble a little bit early there. I mean, like not the worst, but a little bit early before he drops. Okay. Yeah, we use grab. Make sure that when you're grabbing, you're being much more ambitious. There we're shooting at one Mccree. Now, if we fired it a little bit over the side, maybe. So, for example, here, like if we fired it onto cart, like right here, you could probably get 4 people, right? Mercy, Junk, D.Va, Mccree, right? So there's right there. That's a big difference. So when you're firing grab, you don't want to fire it at a person. You want to fire it at the feet in between as many people as possible, right? Because getting 1 person in it versus getting 4 people in it isn't just 4 times the value. It's probably more like 6 times the value because you're trapping everybody. This means that they can't support each other as well. Your team's gonna be able to damage more of them. It's basically almost a guaranteed fight win, right? It's just so much more value. So here it's very, very minimum value that we get out of it. So definitely could have done more, right, with it especially if we're just aiming it a little bit to the side there on the right. Now, do know that we went 2 fights without using it before this, so by this point we probably maybe could have just let's just simplify it. We could have by this point, right? If we were charging up effectively and we didn't die that one time, we might have been able to get 3. Let's just keep it simple. You probably could have gotten an extra grab in here, if we had used it that first fight that we had it, right? And then that means that now we get 2 grabs instead of 1 grab, which is 2 times the value, right? So look to use your ultimate just as soon as you get it, more frequently, that sort of thing. Now that's on end all be all. There are situations where you hold on to it, but generally speaking, we probably want to be using it as often as possible so we get it value as often as possible.
Yeah.
Okay, audio awareness. We don't hear Reinhardt slamming behind us, or even know that he is behind us.
That's the power of attraction. Don't give up.
Okay.
Barrier activated. Maximum charge.
Let's go over aggression scaling. So aggression scaling is a very similar concept to your, and then just I guess just to see we didn't talk about that last time. Do you recall that concept at all?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Hmm.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I'm not even sure if I was, because I think our session was, I don't know, it's like 6 months ago. I don't even know if I was going over this 6 months ago. But in any case, aggression scaling is very similar to kill feed watching and knowing that stuff, because that's a big part of this. But aggression scaling is thinking of your aggression as if it were on a scale, and this is a very helpful tool to manage your aggression. So on this, with this theory, right, you want to come into each fight at 50% on the scale. 50% is your neutral, because when the fight starts, not a whole lot's going on yet. Now you adjust upwards on the scale to 100%, which is your aggression, and 0% is your passive, or very passive, very aggressive. Um, Now you adjust upwards with advantages and with opportunities, and you adjust downwards with disadvantages, a lack of resources, and danger. Right now, let's define a couple of those. So opportunities are, very easy. It's just somebody's slow, somebody's out of position. You see an opportunity for a kill, right? That sort of thing. If that's the case, you can get a little bit more aggressive to go finish off the kill, right? You see somebody's 1 HP, maybe you walk forwards an extra couple of steps, right, to go finish them off, and then you can back up, right? Advantages are everything we just talked about with how you've won or lost a fight, right? You're up people, you have other advantages, right? So let's say you're up a person, maybe you go from 50 to 60, right? You're up 2 people from 60 to 70, right? 3, 70 to 80, etc., right? And this also goes the exact opposite way, right? Disadvantages, you go down the scale. You're down a person, 50 to 40. Down 2 people, 40 to 30, right? Now you also have lack of resources. Resources are your health and your abilities mainly, right? If you don't have health, you cannot play aggressive. If you are, 1 HP, you should probably be at 0% because you can't do anything when 1 HP. Not going to work out too well. Now, you also have danger levels. Danger levels, to clarify, there's a difference between being in danger and being low, right? You can be this health and all the way over here and be perfectly safe. And you can be full HP and right next to a diva bomb or right here in the middle of their team and maybe be a little bit more in danger, right? So danger level, though usually health is indicative of danger level, right? Usually being low HP increases your danger, right? So you or your teammates being in danger also has an impact on that. So those are things to be wary of and keeping in mind. Now, other things to note is that this is going to be very fluctuant. Do not lock hard into anything. So you're not going to walk into a fight and then go up to 100% aggression and then stay there for the next 10 seconds. That's not how it works. You're going to come into the fight and you might be at 50% and then you go, oh, there's an opportunity, right? So you go up to 100 and then you get headshot and now you're 1 HP, so you have to go down to 0, right? That all happened within 1 second, right? So you went from 50 to 100 to 0 all within the course of a second, so it's very fluctuant. Now, that might seem like a whole lot to keep track of, but once you start get going with it, it'll become a lot easier. It'll kind of become more habitual, and pretty much you'll be able to identify all this stuff. Those 20 different things we just mentioned, all within this, all in the course of a snap of the fingers, right? We'll just be able to analyze the situation in a second, right? So here, right, big problem. The reason why I'm bringing it up is that we back up here, Junkrat's on top of us. Okay, let's just analyze it right here. Right, just snapshot. Currently, what would you say? Like, if you were just to analyze everything we just talked about, and just to confirm before we go into this, does that make sense? Do you have any questions on it?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Okay, so in this situation, right? what would you say are approximately what would you say that our aggression scaling should be at?
Very low. I should probably be retreating now. I don't have any support in, line of sight, and my diva just got demeched, and my self bubble's on cooldown.
Yeah, so mainly here, the big thing to look at is the lack of resources. So no bubble, but even bigger, low HP, right? We're at
Mhm.
92 HP, which probably warrants being back. That's another thing that you notice. Good. You don't have your team with you. I'm not actually sure where I put that. That's definitely something definitely another thing that impacts it, though. I'm not sure where I want to put that, like, on what I want to call that on the scale, because I don't feel like I want to add a fourth thing to it because it's already a
Yeah.
lot. But it doesn't really fit with advantages. So I guess I don't know if you want to brainstorm that for me, but in any case, yeah. So yes, you don't have your team with you. Right now, it's not a lost fight because it's a 1, 2, 3, 4.5 versus a 1, 2, 3, 4. So you, in fact, this is decently winnable at the moment. But you're low, Diva's out of mech, Lucio's low, May's out of position. They have ult, right? So even though we're up half a player, there's a lot of things going against us. But I would say at the moment, overall, we're at a disadvantage in this fight. Not lost yet, just at a disadvantage. And therefore, because of all those different things, probably want to be around like at 20% right now, right? Just be
Mhm.
back up, play a little passive, get healed, then we can go. But look at our aggression right here.
Barriers on you.
Notice a little bit of a problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're walking back into the fight, right? We're just running smack dab in, and then therefore that's pretty much what gets us killed there. Gets us killed here, right? It's just walking back into the fight.
Yeah.
Our enemies return. Barriers on
EMP
you.
activated.
Ready for battle.
Ready. Attackers incoming.
Enemies found.
Yeah, we just get ruled here, I think.
Um, B, just fire strike the door like as soon as it opens, right? That's just like you can throw it out like a second before it opens. That's just an easy way to get, because then you can probably get like 2 fire strikes as they're approaching. Also
Yeah.
just make sure we're not hitting the wall.
Yeah.
Okay, there we're a little bit angled up, right? Notice how they're low and we're kind of looking up in the air, so watch for that. Whoa, hack! I'm joking.
Oh, what happened?
Oh, I think you had like a mouse skip or something. So we just we just suddenly like our camera just was like up in the air. Watch this, right?
Oh,
We're good.
okay, yeah. I think I was lagging a bit.
Yeah.
Don't worry, my friend. I have your shield. The enemy is back in the fight.
Okay. So, are you familiar with the terms position? Or sorry, you probably familiar with the first one, not the second. Are you familiar with the terms choke point and no man's land?
Yes.
Yes to both.
Yes to both. Yeah,
Yes. So maybe that's something we went over last time, possibly. Right. So you probably choke points, right? Funnels, right? Something like this, right? Tiny little area that they're kind of forced to go through. No man's lands. What would you define that as?
Pretty much anywhere that you can't take natural cover, right? So
Yeah.
like you want, especially as Ryan, you want to be on the corners,
Yeah.
and
Long.
I'm kind of in between.
Yeah, long stretch of open space, right, is what I would call it. So like this
Yeah.
right here, no man's land, right? Just this long stretch of open space where they have to walk through, right? So right here, this is like a dual choke, right? So choke right here. I wouldn't say there's a no man's land, but it's a choke right here, choke right here, kind of, because it's like this is kind of, this one maybe is like a little bit of a no man's land, but it's kind of two little areas where there's not a lot of cover, and they're kind of funneled a little bit closer together, and therefore it's very easy to shoot them. Right now, positioning wise, right, we were all, as a team, all holding up here, and then we backed up, right, and then we were holding up here by ourselves, right. So if you recall at all, when we talked about how to hold these, you probably don't want to be holding at the front of the choke point or at the right next to the choke point, because then if we're holding right here, then they don't actually need to walk through the choke, right? So when we were holding here, notice how they were just all kind of sitting back on this end of the choke, right? They don't, if you're sitting right there, they don't need to push through it to shoot at you. They can just shoot at you from here. In fact, you're stopping them from pushing through, right? And then therefore, that not only negates the disadvantage for them, it also puts you at the disadvantage, because now we also have to walk backwards through this one, through this choke point, right? Which puts us at a disadvantage and our whole team at a disadvantage. So probably rather than holding up here, you probably want to be holding like back on this corner, and then that way they have to push through both of them. Or you can maybe hold here for a second and then like back up, but like we're kind of holding forwards a little bit longer of a period of time, so I probably just recommend being on that corner where you can utilize that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Pretty
So
much done right there.
I would say two things you can do to stop from getting charged there. Do you maybe have any clue what like either or could be?
Yeah, I mean, there was no reason to be out there. First of all.
So being far forwards, maybe one thing. I would, yeah. So there, you are actually didn't even notice that you're down a player, but it's a 5v5, so you don't really have an advantage at the moment. So yeah, holding the corner probably be a good idea. Now, more so I'm looking at like techniques over just positioning here. So it's two techniques we could maybe use here. Okay. So the first one is something called countercharging. So countercharging puts you both on the ground if you just charge back, and it's not something you want to use all the time. Typically, you want to use countercharging if you believe you have equal to or more team support than the enemy Reinhardt, right? Because if you, for example, right, like if you countercharge like right here inside of their whole team, then you die, right? And then their Reinhardt lives. But if you countercharge right here where your whole team can see you, it's kind of even, right? Neither of you, you'll probably both live or both die, right? And then if you're like over here, then you'd have the advantage, right? You don't want to do it when it's right here, because then you just die, right? You do want to do it in either of these, right? Because then that stops you from getting pinned. Now, the other thing is probably don't step right up inside of Reinhardt's face, because that's not going to be, that's just asking to get charged. So don't get this close, and then always stand a little bit to the sides of him, right? To the left, to the right. That way you're not, if he does charge you, you just kind of bounce off of him versus getting sucked in. So don't hold right in front of him additionally. Okay, so we're coming back from spawn. Do note that I think we're giving up on this slightly early. Right, so analyze like that a little bit. They currently, it's a 3v2, right? So that's not looking too great for them, but we're if we had come out this other entrance and charged as soon as we come out of this other entrance, we could probably be like, here by now or something like that, right? And then I would say that we have similar spawns away. I'd probably say we have maybe a slightly closer spawn than they do. Right, their spawn's a little bit further away, so we'll be getting our players back slightly sooner. So I'd probably say it's still winnable. And at least also beats there, right? Arissa got sucked up on that elevator, but we just kind of give up a little bit early, right? So maybe just be coming out that left side, and then we do go in after it's lost, right? So now we probably shouldn't be going in.
Yeah.
Because now we're trying to go in when their whole team's walking back. We just lost 2 players, right? So they're going to be just having way too many people, and then that's when we're walking in. So again, watching kill feed, watching aggression scaling, right? Probably don't want to be getting this aggro, right? Uh-oh, and then we also feed and die.
Yeah, that was the last inspiration to touch.
We almost went through it.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking about it.
Woo! Very nice. Okay. Audio awareness, visual awareness, right? Like, where's their Reinhardt at? I don't see like here we could actually see Reinhardt here, but we could also be thinking in our heads like, huh, Reinhardt's not on the front. Where the heck is Reinhardt at, right? Reinhardt didn't just disappear off the face of the map, sorry. He's not dead. So be thinking to yourself like, where the heck is Reinhardt? You can also hear him up there. You can see him up there right now, right? You can hear him clunking. And then if you see Reinhardt up on high ground doing this little flanky play, there's maybe something they should be going through your mind like when Reinhardts are acting out of the ordinary, probably means that they're going for a shatter, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of cases.
The payload is
Alright, so then that ends up getting us killed and we die. So I think that is about it. Trying to think if we need to actually go over one topic here or not, but we're about to be done in a moment. Why did that not? The time skip interval didn't change at all, but alright, I'm gonna skip. Sorry, I'm just checking something. So 1 death. Right, then we're good for a little while. Okay, 2 death. Okay. Oh, is that 3 death? No, we just walk out. Okay, 3 death. Alright, so honestly not that bad of a death rate. Alright, so I don't think we need to talk about that too much. Alright, so we got 9 minutes. Why don't we just get started on the end here, because I don't think we're gonna have enough time to hop into something else. So we are now going. Yeah, we're now going to do a review over everything, go over the main points, and then wrap up from there. So mainly Zarya, a little bit of Reinhardt, and then Reinhardt I didn't really talk about abilities or ults very much, so we'll just say Zarya, right? Zarya abilities. Abilities are very important on Zarya, right? That's how you do things, right? On Zarya, think of your kit as a basically 2-step process, right? 1, get energy. 2, use energy, right? So there's those 2 kind of aspects. If you don't have energy, then you're not gonna do nothing. You're not really gonna be able to do anything on Zarya, right? If you don't have energy, you are essentially non-existent, right? So your number 1 priority, each fight, each match, get energy, right? First step. Now you can have energy and not actually do anything with it, and that's where using it comes into play, right? You can, you can not do anything with it if you're in bad positioning, if you're shooting at the wrong targets, if you're shooting in the wrong way, right, etc., right? And so it's next is actually utilizing it. In that game, you needed to work on both, right? You getting energy and then also utilizing, but bubbles is the getting energy part, right? So when you're using bubbles, put more energy and effort into them. Make sure that you are getting a little bit extra aggro. Don't back up in the middle of your bubble. Stand still. Make them look at you by shooting at them, right? And that overall, that probably went to like a I'm trying to think where I want to put it. Higher end of a medium for priority for you to work on, right? Then moving on to your ultimate usage, ult usage, just make sure you're not holding on to it. Use it at the start of fights. Ults that are used first generally get more value than ults that are used second. And then also be more ambitious with it, aiming at the feet in between as many people as possible, and then you'll get more value, right? Overall, probably like lower end of a medium, somewhere around that. But still, still needs to be worked on. Then mechanics. Mechanics is make sure that you are not doing this weird like shoot beam shoot thingy, right? Make sure you're not beaming when there's nothing to beam. Besides that, make sure you're shooting at the right targets, target priority, right? So easy, you know, shoot easy targets, not hard targets. Come up with that target priority list in your head. Tanks are hard to kill. Go for them though if you have opportunities, right? Besides that, I don't think we talked about too much else within mechanics. So overall, that probably went to, just because of that target priority alone, probably lower end of a medium. Then you got positioning. Positioning. Yep, I like how you are on high grounds. Drop from them if they're not doing, if you're like out of the fight, or something of that sort. But besides that, you know, maybe a couple times where we could have used cover better. Overall, we didn't focus too much on positioning at all during that game. Not to say it was great. Also, keep in mind no man's land and choke points, right? Overall, for the moment, lower end of a medium, right? And then finally, we have awareness/aggression. So watching your health, watching your HUD, watching kill feed and what's happening up there. 1 to 2 is an advantage or disadvantage. 2 to 3 is a won or lost fight. When you've won a fight, get extra aggro. Lost a fight, get out if you can, or let them kill you. Don't use ults in won or lost fights, right? And then besides that, let's see what else is there. There's also paying attention to tab, right? What's happening there, right? Team comp dictates playstyle, right? So what comp are they running? Coming up with that list of target priority in your head, and then aggression scaling, right? Making sure we're adjusting our aggression, right? 50% is neutral, 100% aggression, 0% super passive. You adjust upwards with advantages and opportunities, downwards with disadvantages, lack of resources, danger, and I guess why don't we put teammates as lack of resources, right? So lack of teammate resources, right? So if you don't have your team with you, that's a lack of resources. And then overall, that one probably went to more of a medium high, right? Needs a little bit more work. So to put that all in order, number 1, awareness/aggression. Number 2 is probably gonna be your ability usage. Number 3 is gonna be your these bottom 3 are very close. Probably mechanics, and then your ult usage, and then your positioning, though like I said, those bottom 3 are very, very close. Overall, that is about it. One more topic. Do you recall at all what we maybe went over with how you actually apply things and work on things?
That's the power.
No,
I don't remember off the top of my head.
no problem whatsoever. I don't remember anything about our session either. So how you work on the things we just talked about is making sure that while you're playing, you're actively focusing on the things you're trying to work on. So let's take, for example, awareness/aggression, right? If you're trying to work on those, you want to make sure you're not autopiloting, playing to play, and contrary to popular belief, probably don't want to purely play to win, as that's just going to lead to stagnation versus actually improvement. Now, what that actually looks like within your gameplay is you're going to come in into the game and you're going to be thinking in your head, awareness, 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 aggression scaling, aggression, 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 right? You're going to give yourself a constant flow of reminders, right, to be thinking about those things. And when you think about your awareness and aggression, your awareness and aggression are going to be much better. That's really all that awareness is just thinking about your surroundings. So because this can be doing better, then when you do that for a long enough period of time, it will form it as a positive habit. Once you form it as a positive habit, then it's no longer something you need to work on as much, just kind of comes naturally, and then you can work on something else. Now, don't try to do everything all at once. That'll get overwhelming. Work on one category of things, or 1 to 3 smaller things within a category. Any final questions?
No, I think we're good to go.
Alrighty, so I will get you your